shown with his injury, his recovery, this team being 5th place and finding their way all the way to the finals. This org has done it before. It would be incredible if they could stop Gen.G for the 3-peat now.
It's not going to be easy, but certainly a lot of people have faith in them after their run. And we are running straight into the draft here for game number 1 with our very wonderful new setup we got here. Xayah immediately bans. No more of that for Guma, especially after game 5 yesterday.
The support bans continue here for T1. Looks like it might not have been a read that it was a specifically Lehen style they want to do. They want to thin the pool of Delight here as well. Nico also taken away from Faker rather than the Azir ban. We'll see if they do go for both.
I'm also wondering if we are going to again see T1 actually go back to specifically the Lulu. Was a really big part. The lane dominance it provided was one of the big reasons why Aiming and Lehens in particular couldn't really play the game the way they wanted. Lehens really being kind of kept in lane and not having the impact outside the lane was a big part of why KT didn't get to play their usual game. And we have seen that specifically in the 2v2, Paze and Delight have struggled. When we get to team fights, I don't think that there's any qualms. As we do see, indeed, as you mentioned, Wolf, the Azir still getting taken off here. And I think that's a great call after yesterday's series.
Yeah, Faker was allowed to play Azir 9 times in playoffs. It was his most played, and the 10th, we were still waiting for that one. I don't know if it's going to happen, as Yone also denied here from Chovy. And I think this is wise considering that Sejuani is available here. And they're going to go ahead and first pick Paze's Zeri here. We've seen this priority already here in this finals weekend, but I think for Paze, it's definitely warranted.
Yeah, and Paze, kind of known as the bamboo shoot because he is growing up so fast. That's why they were comparing him to pandas before during the trash talk. We do get Oner jumping onto the Maokai alongside of the Aatrox that Zeus was so good on.
And Maokai, incredibly strong pick. We've really been seeing it go towards the ban list more and more. Yesterday's series as well was a really big part of why T1 was able to win those games early on very decisively together with the Azir. And Gen.G is still going to opt into the Rakan. Now, Sejuani by itself, I think there's a lot of picks that work with it. Although letting Zeus get his Aatrox after yesterday's series is definitely a gamble. But I'm wondering if this means that Gen.G is 100% going to ban away the Lulu. I love the light on Rakan, don't get me wrong. But with this setup, you can't really afford to get pushed back in lane.
Yeah, very risky too into the Maokai. Setting up for engages will not be easy, or a very fragile support into now the Jace, as well as the Aatrox. 2 champions that could really benefit from getting that first pick on an engaged support that's squishy and proccing those Dust Blades. We will see the Jax taken away here, obviously with Sejuani on the board. And I think for the side of Gen.G here, could try to now thin out the 80 carry pool for Gumayusi. They could have prioritized something like an Aphelios here for front to back after, you know, the 3rd pick came through there, but they opted into the Jace instead. The Lulu that you mentioned will be taken off the board here, which does weaken said Aphelios pick if it is going to come through.
And Ahri also taken away here. Kind of wondering what direction Chovy wants to go in. Expecting to see a pickup for Guma here. Try and use the flexibility of Keria. And let's not forget the Maokai can also still be flexed as Guma goes back to one of his comfort picks. Was banned repeatedly yesterday. We didn't end up actually seeing it, but definitely a clear sign that T1 wants to try and punish this Zeri very early on. Is okay, the Camille coming in here with the Sejuani. That is a very strong 1-2 towards the top side of the map, but leaves me a little worried for bot side, because if you play towards that Camille against Lucianami, that's a risk.
And what saves it for me a little bit is the fact that they do have this Talia, because they can make an impact in bottom lane with this roaming mid. Weaver's Wall can send you down there pretty quickly as long as you're able to maintain decent prio here into Faker's Jace. So Chovy can make an impact top side and bottom side, so he can play cleanup if things are looking like they're on fire down there for Paze and Delight in the 2v2 isolated. But on the top side as well, Doran should be able to, with this Sejuani, push in and get some advantages. So it feels like this is the answer that Gen.G have prepared to the Aatrox that is now given to Zeus an 8th time here in playoffs. He's played it so much, it's his most played He's been able to blind it. He has very rarely gone punished on this pick. Gen G, they've got a great response here in this first game. I think a lot of this is going to come down to how much of an impact Chovy can make outside of his lane in the early game. And if he can do it, it's just another testament to how much growth we've seen of this player throughout the past few seasons.
Absolutely. I feel like this is a great way to kick off the series already. I like that Gen G, a lot of focus on the bottom lane. You know, you get that Zeri for Pays, you get the Rakan for Delight. They're saying, hey, let's make this about Pays and Delight once again. Let's get them to carry. And also, we got like a big groan of surprise almost from the crowd when Faker picked Jace, because that's what he was playing, and even Poby himself was playing. That's the pick that T1 have not gotten a lot of success with in general, regardless of who is piloting the mid lane.
Also curious about this Nami. Don't forget the interaction with the passive evolution. One of the big reasons why this duo was so strong for years had been removed on 13-12. We'll see if Keria still gets to have the same impact.
It's going to be a really big deal there in the bottom 2v2.
Absolutely, pretty huge. But guys, it looks like we're ready to hop onto the rift for game number 1. Let's do it right now. The fans out in force once again tonight. They were incredibly loud yesterday and definitely in favor of T1, as it generally is, the big fan base that they have. But today definitely evened out a little bit more as the Gen G fans do pile in for the finals, as they're kind of getting used to their team being in the finals and winning a bunch.
T1 has a fan base that is arguably the most legendary and most vocal in esports, but Gen G, I think, have really increased their fan base over the last consistent years of play, as Gen G, since 2021, only missing that 21 summer finals, have been in the rest of them. It's just been such consistent form we've seen from Gen G, and they've earned so many fans throughout those dominant years across multiple rosters.
As we do see, fighting for the early lane here, Keria trying to look to get a W on pace. Not going to be the case, but early trading coming in hot here.
Yeah, trying to get on top of Keria here. And, you know, we talked about the Lucian Nami. I think the Nami is fine just as straight up enchanter support. You don't even need to use it as the Lu Nami that we used to always see. It's just going to have a good lane into poking out the Zeri, into dealing with the Rakan early. And you can see that Guma and Keria are already putting on the pressure.
And also the interaction with the knockup for Rakan allows you to, if you can predict it correctly, get a bubble right on top of the Rakan engage. If you can predict it and react quickly enough, there's a nice interaction you can have there, of course, with the Nami, and the sustain it's going to provide just with the heal alone here is going to be very annoying to deal with here. You see level 2 hit first. And over here on top side, this matchup has been pretty bad for Aatrox historically.
And it's not a pick that we've seen. I think it's 13-15. Camille actually gets a pretty sizable buff, as Doran unfortunately doesn't get the cannon. Thank you for the zoom in. Where she gets a considerable amount of extra damage within her ultimate. Am I looking for a dive on Zeus here?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, actually. Let's see how Zeus deals with it. Puts in the Q3 into Peanut, who just dashes away and says, actually, you know what, never mind. I don't want to go for that play.
Yeah, they were so close to getting him when he was only level 2, but with 3 up and the chains coming through, just going to have to get out of dodge. That's not what you want.
Yeah, Delight's getting in there, and he's getting punished for every single time he tries to make a move in this lane. And that's why they win for the Lucian Nami.
And this is also what we talked about in draft. I think for Peanut, it's understandably one of the big pieces of criticism we had for KT yesterday was that they drafted Sejuani and then never attempted to actually bully Zeus on the Aatrox. Aatrox's early laning phase still is relatively weak, and it's kind of where you want to punish him.
Okay, Faker.
Nice.
Gonna get burst to smithereens. Doesn't die, but not a good trade for him.
It's a little bit of burst there from Chovy. But the moment that Peanut shows up, it is also a green card for Gumayusi and Keria to just continue shoving, go in for these really aggressive 2v2 trades, and maintain a maximum amount of pressure. And particularly with late on top side not actually working out, means that Paze and the Light really need to keep their wits about them, not to get taken too low and end up in dive territory themselves.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The wards that you see placed here actually for Genji on top side after Faker gets pushed back, he doesn't actually get taken out or anything like that. Doesn't have to use summoners. He's not, you know, going back for an early back losing teleport or anything like that super early. But it does give them the space to actually get some warding up here. So now that they have that extra vision, Doran can push up. He sees Oner here, now backs off in the lane. Genji playing really well around that early vision they set up, and it is going to be Peanut going bottom side.
Ooh. Okay, Doran going to be interrupted. Might matter a bit more in the future if we do get into any other bigger skirmishes. As Chovy's Talia, it's really nice to see this out here once again. I believe he played it once in the playoffs, and then the teams were like, nah, never again. You're not allowed to play this pick, actually. You're too good at it.
It's one of those picks as well that came up as a specific counter. We saw it into Azir, but then teams realized, hey, this is great. And that's how Alistair went from a rel counter to just being perma-banned. What I also think is interesting, with the knowledge that they have on topside, plus the ward placed by Chovy, T1 actually, or rather Genji, have done a really good job of tracking Oner, as Peanut will now spot the ward here. And that does mean that Peanut should have the option to cover here, make sure the Paze and the Light don't get dove pre-first back, because if you do start snowballing on this Lucian, it becomes very hard to play the game out.
Yeah, it's just really great vision control. Did it top side, now going bottom side. Guma is going to see Peanut here. This is quite critical. He's very low on mana. We'll be able to get out of here, and is going to see the Sejuani leaving. They're just going to stick around here a little bit longer, but the vision control here for Genji has allowed them to, as we talked about pre-Talia here, pre-6, still have relevance bottom and top.
Okay, we have Faker here, actually, and the second they see him, they're like, actually, Keria was just baiting that very nicely. A pretty proactive maneuver there from Faker on the map. Does mean that Chovy gets the push in here, but may have saved Keria's life.
It also allows Doran a little bit more freedom here on the top side, but he's not having a great time.
He's picking some sweet spots. He's going to have to hookshot out of here. Doesn't have to flash, but Zay is making it clear, okay, I got a couple items, I'm good.
Yeah, key thing there is Doran hasn't actually backed yet, so we'll be able to teleport back to his lane as Faker.
Uh-oh. Let's see what happens to him. Seismic Shove is going to miss. Peanut not going to flash in on that one, as Faker just runs it off and will be okay.
Phase rush, going to be all right. Doesn't have to flash. And as you mentioned, Chronicler, it's very critical. Doran did not use his teleport yet, has now. So we'll have a small lane advantage. Zayas going to walk it back. And this game has been very much just a kind of ping-pong game around top side, bottom side here. The bot was the focus here of this last set of plays. And Chovy knew that with the vision control they had and Peanut being there faster, they could actually push that wave in mid. He didn't need to come down and help. Now he's got his Weaver's Wall. Another shove.
Yeah, Faker just kind of being harassed here in mid, but he's holding his own. Just doing Faker things once again. Just being very aggressive, sometimes getting caught out, sometimes dodging 5 ganks, and other times getting ganked himself.
Keria actually pulling the wave there means that I wonder if he was going to go for a roam timer. Is of course playing Nami, not something like a Nautilus where you do have a lot of offensive threat, kind of need to set up. Doesn't look like he'll actually end up going for it, but does mean that Guma is going to have the lane in a very nice spot. As again, this has been something that they've been very consistently doing, keeping track of Oner, and it means that they also identify the opportunity to get an early Drake here. Let's not forget Genji prioritizing those early Drakes over everything here in the playoffs.
Genji have been so oppressive when they can get these small advantages, and that is exactly what we're seeing here. Push that deep vision control so that a small advantage in mid here for Chovy means you get Dragon guaranteed. You know there's no contest. You know Oner 6 is coming up soon. If he shows up there, it's going to be a totally different story, but when you're able to track him that deep on Krugs even, as Doran is able to do there, it's pretty easy to then set up for this early Dragon control. It is Chemtech into Mountain, so a lot of really strong souls available here, so this is going to be potentially a huge lead here for Genji, as now the Herald on the other side is started up, and it looks like Genji have no intention of contesting.
Yeah, there is the opportunity for T1 here to really accelerate the gold lead. They're already sitting on about 300. If they can make a big play off of this Herald, and I assume they will try to play towards that bot side, maybe get Guma even further ahead. He's gone for Dirk and Pickaxe. So very, very aggressive buys early on. Peanut might be able to get a blue buff here, but T1 still going to take that trade. But I am wondering, how are they going to be able to use the Herald? Because with Maokai in particular, a Herald push can become lethal very, very quickly. Throw a wave on top of it, have Guma go in as well. If they can get a kill or two, they can start snowballing the game.
Yeah, like you're saying, it comes down to the setup. But speaking of setup, we got Doran, who has trapped Zeus in the Hextech. And here is Chovy as well, gets up to the top side as a flash even is gonna come out of Zeus as he's trying to survive here, but will not be able to. No more sweet spots come in. That's first blood over to Chovy.
And here's the Taliyah power already here. Chovy doesn't have to use teleport. It comes back up. He's able to get back to mid here. Won't lose too many minions. Comes up topside, cuts off that Aatrox with Doran's hook shot coming through. And this is really looking good here. Now, on the bottom side, they are going to try to accelerate Guma, but it's not going to be a dive they can actually turn into kills. And what T1 wants so desperately is for this early game...
Yeah, you got a little play here, a little scrum going on, but it's just going to be getting some space for two plates.
And as Chronicle was mentioning, what T1 really want, if they could do this with the Herald, is to set up a dive here where they have a numbers advantage with the Nature's Grasp coming through. You get Faker, an extra item here, an early Dirk. You get this Lucian accelerated, and then the mid game becomes so much easier to pilot. They still get some plates for this Lucian, but it's not the massive advantage they were hoping for.
Little play here. Let's see if Faker can just run it off again. Yes, he will. Taliyah still having that burst, but not going to overchase.
Yeah, Taliyah really needing at least the first item before you do a lot, as in Delight goes.
Oh, we got the calling coming out here. Delight not able to get over that wall. He's just running away. And we're having so much action already with just the one kill.
And heal is going to be used there for Keria, but they will be able to probably force at least the back from Delight, maybe pick up a plate as well. We'll see. Looks like they are not going to go for that, instead go for the back. I'm sure Guma's sitting a lot of gold, but what I love there is an aggressive use of teleport there from Gen G, right? Doran has his ultimate, Chovy ults towards top, then immediately TP's back, and because Peanut is preemptively responding to the cross map that they know that T1 is going to try and set up, and Chovy is already in mid, even if Faker would come down to try and force a 4 versus 3, the response from Taliyah can be there. And now we see a lot of attention still towards his top side.
All right, that ward spotted him going in. They want to set something up. Keria is coming up to the top lane, but let's see just how many Gen G members are going to be here. We got 4, but it looks like T1 is able to respond to it in time and just back away.
Now, Faker has been able to get a little bit of plate gold here in mid and does maintain a small CS advantage despite the pressure, despite the shoves coming through. He even traded a lot of his health bar to get that last plate because he knows that he needs to get this lethality Jace online ASAP. They weren't able to get any plate gold with the Herald, but he's been able to do it on his own. And he has really been the only one who's absorbing the pressure here from Gen G. But it's not enough of an advantage here with those plates just yet for you to feel like Jace is going to be in a position to contest some of these mid-game Drakes, for example, where he's able to actually get decent poke off before Zeri's actually relevant. As Oner's going to commit the ult.
Yeah, Doran doesn't have flash. He does have the Hextech ultimatum, but he doesn't have his life anymore. The hook shot not going to work out. Okay, he's going to use it and just get Bramble Smash in the face as Oner will take that kill into his pocket.
Really nice move here from the side of Oner. Lurked around the top side for a while. Peanut's going to come up here and deny this plate, but the successful gank does go off. Unfortunately for T1, the gold does not go, at least the majority of it, to the Aatrox.
And Peanut there to make sure that not too much is going to get lost. Doran will be able to TP back to lane, but still good to see Oner making proactive moves, ensuring that Doran doesn't actually just get to keep harassing Zeus in a 1v1. He was also, I think, sitting on Sunderer already, so was going to be looking to trade aggressively. Also want to highlight, Guma went for Collector first, like particularly with First Strike, the amount of damage that he's going to be able to pump out in a very short amount of time. Most notably, if Oner can set up for him right, give him access to his passive, is going to be completely ridiculous on anyone that isn't Peanut, who already has started stacking these defensive stats.
Now, Pays does have the Shiv, so that's going to be a wave clear advantage here in mid, and they should be able to take away this prio from T1. And the problem with this early index into the Collector here, of course, with the Jace lethality coming online here for Faker as well, is that this Mountain Drake is going to get so much insane value. They're also running that tanky Sejuani frontline, and so while it is very strong early, like you mentioned, you have that explosive power on this Lucian. If Gen G just don't give you an opportunity to set up to look for those potential picks, you also don't have that Gale Force execute. You really have to be set up for success, and outside of the Nature's Grasp, there isn't really a great tool here for T1 to get Guma into position to actually secure those kills with the damage he's got.
Just a very interesting game already. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of kills, but it does feel like both teams are, you know, dealing some punches to either side. T1 with the slight lead here, but a couple of Drakes in the pocket of Gen G as we have Cloud Soul, which it's really going to make things go a lot faster for either team that gets the Dragons, but also just the Rift. You know, both sides going to be looking to engage pretty heavily.
And for me, the next 10-15 minutes is where I'm really looking for T1 to explosively try and push leads and fight Zeus.
Zeus is like, oh crap, I am maybe dead here. He's gonna flash. Let's see if it works out as the sweet spot is just gonna be dodged, and Doran will help pick up that kill. Chovy 2-0 now on his Talia.
Great usage of the Hextech ultimatum there in that final moment, as Pays should just be able to walk this one out, see if they can get the whole turret. Delight's here to help.
He's over the wall. He's going to clean out the wave as a double bubble comes in. Here's Toby just surfing on in, looking for the play. As they knock up Keria, down he goes. And now T1 going to look to run away from this one as Oner doesn't even have to flash. Meanwhile, Doran's getting the turret.
And it's another example of Chovy's sideline impact. Faker will, I think, be able to get the first turret blood, so at least when it comes to gold, T1 staying relevant as Zeus is going to try and chase this.
No World Ender.
Flash available. I don't think he gets him.
Yeah, not even going to root him down, but that's okay. He's still got the wave there that he will pick up.
But what happened there, T1 have Collector and double Duskblade, so they really want to try and look for a play. Instead, Gen G aggressively collapsed onto Zeus, who's been such a big part of T1's wins on this Aatrox, take him down, and then use the level 2 ultimate available from Chovy to punish T1, who feel very safe. You have Wave, you have Maokai ultimate, but they dodge it all.
And the second that the bottom side play starts to show, T1 instantly ping mid. They instantly collapse in to try to take that turret out, but Gen G are just faster. And every teleport from Chovy has made a massive impact on the Rift. As that's a decent amount of damage, and that might help you secure Herald, but it's not going to lead to a kill here. Gen G taking a gold lead for a brief moment here. It's so even right now, but T1 just aren't getting the team fights they're looking for with these early lethality items. And this is problematic. It is a Cloud Soul here that is going to be unlocked for Gen G if they get this next Soul point. That's the threat that they're looking for, but Gen G just not missing a beat across the map right now. And even though Faker has been able to push when these advantages being found in bottom, in top side, it hasn't led to him being able to use that gold for a team fight. We haven't had a traditional 5v5 where Faker could set up for poke. Gen G are just out macroing with this Talia pick. He went Ludens as well, so he's got so much burst.
Yeah, the upfront burst that's available here to Chovy is incredible as Faker.
Here we go again. I mean, this is the same kind of gang. We got a teleport now from Doran as Hextech ultimatum, and Faker just can't get away as this Camille is just being a huge thorn in the side of T1 right now as they set up yet another pick. And like you were saying, Wolf, T1 going to try to get something going in mid. They do have 4 guys here, but 3 to answer on the side of Gen G. This time, nope, not even going to be able to do a scratch to that turret.
And right now, T1 are being read like a book. Gen G, their proactive plays, that's one thing, right? Being able to settle the ganks with the Camille ultimate is kind of a classic. But then being able to preemptively predict whatever T1's going to try next, as they're not done.
Imagine being Zeus trying to play this game right now. Like, he can't get away from the Gen G members as he is doing an incredible amount of damage. And now Gen G are looking to get turned on here, actually, as there is no way for Doran. He is going to hook shot, but he gets knocked out of midair, and that will be the end of him. Chovy also having to flash away, but you're not getting away from Maokai, as he is going to look to take down this kill. It's actually Keria who gets it out of anyone, and T1 with a very nice response this time.
So finally they're able to answer one of these aggressive plays, because up until this moment, T1 had just been getting dominated on both sides of the map. I mean, it was just Gen G beating them once and then beating them twice and then beating them a third time cross map. But this time, it is finally shut down, and T1 will take back control of the gold lead. And critically here, Faker obviously is able to buy a decent amount of time, but he's just going to go down. And then in this follow-up, which is where things get really disastrous for Gen G, they stick around too long here, and Doran also fails the flash over the wall. Zeus, look at how much he's able to buy here for the rest of the squad to come over. Oner also with the Maokai ultimate from so far away gets double root here. Peanuts over the wall, he knows this one's done. Then Doran, he messes this one up. Nami's here as well to help slow Chovy down.
We got a fight brewing right now. We got this Cloud Drake that is about to go the way of Gen G as ults are being thrown into Oner as they do get some space, but Doran might just go down, but a power game comes in from Delight to open up this fight as Gen G now running straight at them. Zeus trying to go 1v5. He's going to be shut down as that's a kill into the hands of Doran.
And we do see T1, after such a good play on top side from Zeus, I think in particular, able to cancel the hook shot, then dodge away from the seismic shove, and then Faker with the cancel on Doran's hook shot over the wall. But Gen G recuperate from that play, make their way back towards the Dragon Pit, set themselves up for Soul Point, and then initially you see Doran go in there and you're a little bit worried, right? This is into a Maokai, the Peanut ult doesn't actually hit, but the follow-up from Delight here, absolutely incredible, pays, sees an opportunity and goes in.
Yeah, and it's just really simple front to back from there. Zeus tries to come in here, maybe get a Dust Blade reset, but he's isolated alone. And Faker, as he has been doing a lot of this finals week, it is going to be able to get some turret damage done in return, but that's not going to be the impactful gold he was looking for. And T1, you know, the fight looked like maybe they were going to be able to front to back it there, but the follow-up from Rakan is just so massive. And in typical T1 fashion, 20-minute Baron, I think they have the damage, and they got choke point control here with Nami.
Not even surprising at this point, but your damage is not going to be that great on this objective. And the second that Gen G see you, you have to try to get away, which is not that easy against this comp. But Gen G are going to let them go for now.
What's really important is that looking at the Baron damage from T1 is pretty lackluster, right? You don't have something like a Kai'Sa and a Zir that can shred through it quickly. There is still a lot of power though for T1 looking at the items they have, but if you don't take control of this game in the next 10 minutes...
okay, Faker doesn't have flash because he flashed after throwing a Herald into mid, and that should be the end of him, as that will be a kill given once again over to Pace, who is 3-0.
This area is well and truly starting to snowball, and this should be the Baron start here for Gen G. Keria didn't use his ultimate in the last fight. That's what they're going to have to rely on here. Oner as well with his Nature's Grasp. They just don't have damage here, not at all, not enough to contest. Teleport committed. They're going to try for this.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. You got teleport now coming in from Doran. He is a bit away from the team, but the damage is slow at this point in the game as the poke now from Guma does come in. The wave as well. Zeus trying to set something up, but they just immediately turn off him. He has to flash the wall as Guma goes in and immediately gets blown up, but it's stolen by Oner, who takes it down right away here in game number 1. Now they're all going to get massacred in this pit, but the steal at least does come through, I guess.
It's still a huge win here for Gen G, obviously, but at least T1 are able to deny the Baron, and they will have just 2 left on their side as Faker is going to be able to try to deny this push in. But ultimately, this map is now opened up by Gen G, not with the Baron buff, but just with the win in the team fight.
It's only Keria. Faker actually like 2 seconds off, doesn't end up getting the Baron buff, which means still has the wave clear to hold it down mid, but not going to be enough. And this Talia has been so incredibly important. The wall off, the opportunity to set up these proactive plays. And then, yeah, Peanut finds Faker. He ends up going down immediately. And then the only thing that's riskier for Gen G is either a flip or Doran not being there in time. Doran is able to make it back, but it's really hard to actually deny access to the pit with the Maokai ultimate. So it ends up being a flip. But getting 3 kills, only having a buff on Keria, plus getting map control, I think you still take it as Gen G.
Absolutely. They have a really strong double side lane threat here in Talia and Camille. Zeri with Shiv is just the best AD carry you could pretty much have in this meta in terms of 1-3-1 right now. So it's really easy for Gen G now to just say, well, you're not getting anything out of the Baron you stole. We can now set up for Soul here. It's fairly early, going to be about 24 minutes into the game. And when you're running Talia and Camille, Cloud Soul, Zeri as well, Cloud Soul is arguably the strongest one you're ever going to get. So things looking very dire here for T1, and they need a miracle set of poke to land and some really nice Dust Blade resets if they're ever going to win a fight for the rest of this game.
It's not looking very likely. You know, they went for the Lucian. It was looking good early on, but as you guys have been highlighting, T1 have not really been able to get a foundation going, any kind of lead at all, and Gen G are just one step ahead. Their comp just chases so well, and now that they have control of the game, it's kind of like they're being hunted right now, T1, in this case.
And you're playing double Duskblade, full lethality Aatrox, and Collector Lucian into a team that's gonna itemize fully against...
Sejuani.
Look, like Sejuani, but look at Doran as well. He went Death Stand second. He's gonna be so tanky in these fights. Good poke landing from T1 though, but this is basically a must-win. Giving over a Zeri or a Cloud Soul to Zeri, not something you want to do.
Even the Light has Radiant Virtue, like they're not dealing damage.
They can't slow this down either. They need to somehow slow it, and look at the Weaver's Wall just going to deny them entry.
Whoa!
He's just going to flash over. Oner desperate to get in. He's not going to steal one this time as FaZe gets into the pit. We do have a chance as Doran is knocked out of midair, and Gen G trying to fight their way out of this one. Delight has an angle, does knock up two, and the damage might just be there for the side of Gen G as Guma is just being hounded down, and Gen G are chasing them like hyenas in a pack that's looking to take them down. Toby is going to be hustled here by Faker as the damage trying to be put into Peanut. They're desperate for anything at this point, as Faker will get the one, but it is not looking good. They are being hounded down here by FaZe. Keria as well will bite the dust, and Faker will come next. It's a double here once again for FaZe.
And the Cloud Soul goes to Gen G, and if that wasn't enough, they then dunk on the team fight. This Camille from Doran is such a big brain move, comes out of nowhere. Traditionally works obviously very well with the Sejuani, with the way that you can proc the permafrost, but it's the ultimates and the way that Gen G have played towards their top side that have worked out amazingly here in this game number one.
And the Weaver's Wall here allows Gen G to win this fight here without actually dealing with a lot of poke. They just slow T1's engage, and then they have a fed Zeri here in the pit. There's no access for any of the T1 members. And Faker, if he can get just one reset, he gets on top of FaZe, it's a different story. But they're not able to do so here. Look at Doran just pushing Guma out of this fight. Zeus goes down as well. Then Faker, with this much lethality, thinks maybe if I get a pick, I've got enough damage. If I take Chovy out here, I get that Duskblade reset. Then maybe I can kill Delight, get another one, and then take out Peanut. It's a very wise choice, and he's so close to pulling it off. But because he commits here, it's a full wipe, and it looks like this is probably the last nail in the coffin here in this first game for T1.
Yeah, I think you have to go for that, because at that point, like, the game is already in complete shambles. Maybe you can get a flip play going. Not the case, though. And now Gen G have Cloud Soul. A 9-0 and 4 Zeri. A perfect game Peanut. And this game, like in these type of positions, Gen G have been so incredibly consistent this split. If this was spring, I'm like, maybe Peanut walks into a brush, but he hasn't done that for the entirety of summer.
Yeah, you take a look at the AD carry diff at this point in time. The Lucian has not worked out for the side of T1. Got a little lead early, as it should, with Lucianami, but since then has not been able to have the same impact. And you think about the pocket pick difference between KT and Gen G, right? We saw like Sin, Xerath in game one. That didn't work at all for KT. T1 were able to answer that. Think about this. We got Doran on Camille, who we haven't seen for so long, like consistency at least, consistently. And then you got Talia back here for Chovy, and T1, they're just not able to match them in a macro sense at all, comparing to yesterday.
Is he going Frozen Heart?
I mean, he might, because it's triple lethality, and I mean, he just doesn't have to do that much damage. He's going to do a lot because he's Camille, but he really just is engaged at this point for the follow-up, for the Zeri, for the Talia. And that's one of the things about this draft that Gen G have in spades is every teleport can be impactful because they have two engaged champions here in their solo lanes, whereas for T1, it's Aatrox and Jace, and they just got behind on the macro.
Yeah.
And I mean, now T1, they can't even get access to contest this Baron as Gen G are just looking for a pick. If Talia gets a shove, if Doran gets a Hextech ultimatum on either of these carries, it is just the end of the game. T1 have to respect it, but it means eventually they will get worn down by this Shiv pushing Zeri, and then it's going to be a Baron for Gen G. Lose-lose here for T1.
Well, let's see what their approach looks like, because they have 0 Vision. Okay, they put in the blue ward. Now they know what's happening. Will they be there on time is the question, as we got a wall already coming in. Oner is able to get in. He doesn't have flash, though, and he's just zoned away. So unless Zeus, nope, he's not going to get it. That's just going to be Baron over to the side of Gen G. And T1, immediately they say, well, didn't work out for us. We got to back away. Gen G running away with this game.
And all they got there was Paze's stopwatch. That's it. Zeus, you know, threatening, going in, isn't going to end up mattering, and it's game number 1. Gen G looking incredible, because a lot of the fights have felt close. I think T1 have done a great job of keeping the gold relatively even, but then you look at the kill score.
Yeah.
Telling a very different story.
Yeah, and I think the one heroic play we saw from Zeus where he was able to buy enough time and set up for T1 to turn that topside dive just showcases how difficult it is for Aatrox to actually survive or play weak side in a game like this where you're just getting out-rotated by Taliyah, by Camille, and beyond that, there's just not a lot of tools for them to actually take those fights. Gen G avoided every early fight where early Jace lethality, early lethality on this Lucian is going to be how you could snowball this game. Gen G just played the map instead. And look at Paze, level 16, Doran level 16, 2 levels up on his opposition at the moment. And it is really just Gen G pushing in to take further advantage, because there's no scaling argument here into the itemization we're seeing from Doran. Just not going to happen. Paze got GA.
Yeah. That stopwatch that was broken, it just got upgraded.
Fine.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's pretty good, and we are going to have Elder pretty early on in this game, relatively to other games, because the Dragons were taking 4 of them in a row by Gen G. So let's see how this one goes.
The heart's frozen, guys.
He's done it.
He's doing it. I mean, why not? You're playing into full AD. Might as well. You mentioned, like, Radiant Virtue on the light, Peanut going full armor, Sunfire.
Here we go again. Faker is going to have to flash. And Zeus, he nearly dies. He's just trying to stand here. He's an Aatrox, and now you can't get away from this Camille. So Zeus is going to go down. We got a tidal wave coming in. Faker desperate to keep them around, to get something done. It pays. He has nowhere to go, so he just goes forward. He just takes them out, and T1 can't get away. They all get aced. It's a clean one, and Gen G will push down mid for game 1.
Incredible plays here from Gen G. I mean, they're so far ahead they can afford to make moves like this. Paze, he knows he has GA. His ultimate is fantastic there. He does tons of damage. And because he has GA, he won't end up dying. 12, 0, and 6 on the Zeri here. It feels very Gen G. Paze gets Spring MVP last season. It was Ruler who won the first title of the 3 they're looking for on the Zeri last summer. And man, it's just a new generation of Gen G in this first game.